I genuinely do not currently know which channel I'm going to put this video on because I am making a thing, but then it's mainly just gonna be a sit and chat. So tell me in the comments, which of my channels did I put this on? I am in the mood for a puzzle and a chat, but not a normal puzzle, because apparently I can't chat while working a puzzle because it takes too much of my brain. But my mother-in-law got me this for my birthday, I believe, and it's one of those like wooden things that you put together. So it's not really a puzzle, but I opened it the other day with the plan of doing it during a second channel video. And then I immediately was like, oh no, that's too involved. There's lots of little pieces, lots of instructions, but I haven't done something like this in a long time, or maybe ever, so I thought it would be fun to do together, just like a chill, let's craft together and chat about some stuff kind of thing. Yeah? Eucalyptus. Okay, so like each little package inside is a different flower and or plant. Like a flower is not a plant. Yeah. Sure, I guess we'll start with the eucalyptus. Oh, the sun's coming out. It has been raining lately, which I enjoy. Matt and I both just love a rainstorm. Oh God, it's like IKEA, but with way more steps. Anyway, this wasn't entirely random. I did have a topic on my mind. Hopefully it's still on my mind now that I've actually turned on the camera. This is what it's like to have a conversation with me. Dead silence until you get me talking, and then I'll talk endlessly. But, you know, this is why I write scripts for a lot of my videos, because it's that initial, like, let's start. What's the first thing you wanted to say? How are you going to start saying the thing that you were thinking about? That's a bit of a hang up. So, you know, I can sit next to somebody for like an hour straight and never say a freaking word. But if they finally ask me a question, then I can talk for the next hour straight, answering that one question. I've been thinking a lot about social media lately and my usage of it, which I'm sure a lot of people have with the whole TikTok thing and Instagram thing, all the things. Is there really anything that does not have a thing happening right now? Or at least when I'm filming this, I don't know when I'm gonna put this video out. So with how things are going these days, literally everything could have changed by then. We'll see. But like, it might surprise some people to know that I'm not really a fan of social media and I've never enjoyed it all that much myself. I think because some people still think of YouTube as a form of social media, so then if you're a YouTuber who doesn't really like social media, that can be confusing. I don't think of YouTube as a social media. I think it is trying sometimes as a company or an entity or whatever, or a platform. It's trying to mimic a lot of social media practices, especially in the last few years, for better or for worse. And, you know, there's varying opinions on that. But ultimately, I think of YouTube as a streaming platform, especially now that it's literally the biggest streaming platform in America or something like that. It beat out Netflix, didn't it? And like, obviously, there is somewhat of a social aspect to doing YouTube, especially depending on how you do it. There are various ways to do YouTube, to create content here. But for me personally, it has always felt quite a bit different than actual social medias, which for me personally has only ever been Instagram, really. C7. Is it these? Oh, it is. I was a kid when Facebook debuted, and I do recall being very excited when my mom finally let me get one. I think at like 12 or 13, she was like, that's fine, you can have one finally. But I never did MySpace. I never did anything else that was being done at that time. Was Tumblr around all the way back then? I don't know, whatever the other kids my age were doing, I really wasn't. Facebook was kind of the first thing, not kind of, it was the first thing I ever got in the world of social media. That's dramatic. This is not scary. And for me, the purpose of Facebook was really just to extend the connection between people you already knew. So you'd add your family on there, you would add your friends that you knew in real life, but you could also add people on there that you maybe would never see again if you went to summer camp or something and like you met someone there. So like it was handy for that, but I didn't ever think of it as a place to connect with total strangers. I remember being really confused the first times that I started hearing people say like, oh, I've got thousands of friends on Facebook now. And I was like, but you don't know them. They're strangers. So the whole concept of most social medias has always confused me a little bit. I mean, yeah, like when Snapchat came out, I did not understand the point of it. So that was college. I had Facebook and just Facebook all the way through till like a year after graduating college. But while I was in college was when Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter, I guess, were all three out and were all getting big and everyone had them. And I think I got Snapchat briefly and used it like once. And I was like, I literally don't understand the point of this. I don't understand it. That has not changed. Matt had to, like, he had to spend like 30 minutes trying to explain Discord to me because I was like, I don't understand. What's the point? Why? And ultimately, I think that this comes from just, I don't know, like I'm a person who's really comfortable with loneliness. Like one, I'm an introvert to start with, and that extends to social medias. It extends to online stuff. Like it's easier to communicate with people in writing for me, and it's easier to communicate online, but there is still a social battery in those instances. It still can run out. It can still be very overwhelming. I still don't have endless energy to communicate with human beings, whether it's in person or online. And I've always been very, very comfortable being alone and even being lonely. I don't really see loneliness as a negative thing. It can carry sadness with it. It can be enfolded in sadness, but I'm also really comfortable with sadness. I don't really think of sadness as a negative emotion, and I'm pretty comfortable just actively being sad at times. I did kind of realize a few years ago that when it comes to social interactions and being around human beings consistently, I think I have spent the last, what is it now? Maybe 4 years or so recovering from everything that came before it. Because I'm a person who really needs alone time, and I did not get that for years and years of my life. Basically for the first 25, 26, 27 years of my life. I had a big family in a small home. We did not have our own rooms. There was not a single place in our house where you could go to actually be alone. Privacy was not a priority for my parents. Like entire childhood, did not have alone time, did not have privacy. Went straight from that into college, had roommates the entire 4 years. All of the things that I did in the summers in between came with roommates. Like there really still wasn't a break from it. It was kind of the same deal, only now it was new people. Now it was strangers that I was suddenly living with, which is kind of even worse. Although also a little bit better in some ways. You can kind of just ignore strangers sometimes and be like, we're not really gonna be friends. They don't appreciate that, is something I learned on my first Disney college program. People really don't appreciate when they find out you're not an incredibly friendly, extroverted person, and they are. Anyway, but yeah, like I went from college to working at Disney again, had roommates the whole time. Even when I traveled in Europe, I was staying with families and I was around people the whole time. Still didn't really have much alone time there. Then I got on cruise ships, where, again, it was like going back to my childhood. Not only did I have a roommate, but there was not a single place you could go where you had alone time and you were by yourself. There was no privacy, no alone time the whole times. So like all of this kept happening all the way until I was like somewhere between 25 and 27. I really think that I have spent years of my life, the last 4 to 5 years, just trying to recover from that. It's, you know, people talk about your social battery and like, oh, it's drained and I need to recover a little bit. And it's like, I did not ever get to recover. I just lived with my social battery drained for 20 plus years. And then when I finally had alone time and privacy and, you know, when I finally got to be alone a little bit for the first time in my life, it was like, oh, I could do this for a very long time because I am still trying to rebuild a 25-year drained social battery. Anyway, I feel like I've gotten off topic already, but this was related in some way. Let me finish building this bow. We have gotten almost nowhere. Yeah, frick. Did I do the whole thing backwards? Oh, some of these pieces are real tiny, y'all. And I don't have any nails right now. They've all decided to break off except for one very long pinky nail that is holding on for dear life. Okay, I made a bow. Woo! I don't even know that I need this, but whatever. Anyway, I think it's partially this constant, like, I am always drained socially and I'm good on connection kind of thing that made me less interested in social media because, like, ultimately the point of social media originally was to connect with people. That's kind of mutated now. I wouldn't say it's fully changed, but it has mutated. So obviously I've stopped using Facebook because, like, who uses Facebook anymore? And the only social media I ever ended up getting was Instagram. And that was only because it had a specific purpose that I liked or that made sense to me at that time in my life. I ended up getting one right before I left for Europe because I suddenly had these grand dreams of being like a travel blogger, travel influencer. I didn't really think of it by that term back then, but it was the time when, like, I think travel blogs were kind of at their peak and starting to decline already, and travel influencing via social media was just starting to rise. There were a lot of people I started following at that time as like inspiration who within the next few years kind of blew up into a whole thing. But I specifically got it because it was useful. It made sense. I liked to take photos. My sister, one of my sisters, is a photographer and I had always assisted her. And I specifically wanted to be taking photos if I was traveling. Like, of course, you want to take photos of where you go. And I was looking for a way to potentially fund traveling, to have a job that was kind of what YouTube ended up being for me. I wanted something self-employed where I was my own boss and I could make money in a somewhat creative way. So Instagram made sense because Instagram was photos. It was not, I'm here to try to make friends with a bunch of strangers. It was, I'm here to share my photos, and if you like my photos, if they're pretty, if you like the information that comes with them, if they're inspirational to you, whatever it is, then you'll follow along. Like, I never saw the point of Twitter for me personally because I was like, what do I have to say that, like, I consider so important I want a bunch of strangers to read it? Which is ironic coming from somebody who always wanted to be a writer. But I think I'm not a succinct person. I don't think that. I know that. You all know that as well. I am not a succinct person. So I didn't see the point of short, witty, like clumped together, what was it back then? 140 characters, 120 characters? I don't even know. I didn't see the point of that. I was like, that's not the way that I communicate. I don't have little short things, blurbs to share with the world. If I'm gonna talk, it's gonna be a 100,000 word novel every time. So like, it just didn't make sense for me. And then Snapchat, I still don't understand Snapchat. I never did. I really don't. When TikTok came out, it didn't make sense for me because I didn't make videos back then. I didn't make short videos for sure. Back then I was just starting to make like embroidery tutorials, which were very long because it's a very slow art form. I learned how to make short-term videos because the platform I was on betrayed me. But back then I didn't get it. So I was like, well, why would I get TikTok? Why would I get TikTok if I don't personally really like making short videos and I don't have anything specific to share in that way? These are oddly shaped. So you do A9 into A8 into A7. Okay. So the reason that I've been thinking about this, or the reason for, however long I've already spoken, is because everyone's sort of been running to other social media platforms right now. I have found it really interesting to see people go, TikTok is unstable, Instagram is not being run by people that we are comfortable with. Totally understand both of that. And then their immediate response is like, what else is out there? What else can I join? Somebody I saw was like, I joined all of them. And there was a list of like 6 other social medias that they had joined. And I just immediately got so overwhelmed. It was like, what? I still don't really see the point in my head of joining a social media just for the sake of joining a social media. Or I kind of don't. That's the thing, is I'm slightly starting to change there. But it's not like the natural response for me to be like, oh, Instagram is no longer a great place to be. Let me go join 6 other social medias instead. And so far from everything that I've seen, like everybody's jumping to Blue Sky, but Blue Sky is not an Instagram replacement. It's more of a Twitter replacement. Anyway, everybody's just sort of like jumping over onto other social medias, and I've just felt a little confused about it, as I always tend to just feel confused when it comes to social media, because I'm like, should I join something else? Is this the thing I need to do if I don't want to be using Instagram as much, or if Instagram gets even worse than what it is now? Which of these social media platforms should I jump over to? And I feel like for me, there has to be like a specific reason of why. And now I'm not even sure what my purpose would be, because Instagram is not really about sharing photos anymore. They're trying to pretend they're back into that, but I'm like, y'all forced us into making videos, and we did that. And now you're trying to tell us we can get bonuses for posting photos. Like, make up your mind. So what do I want? Do I want a platform to post photos? Do I want a platform to post short form videos? Or do I want a platform to connect with a group of people, to connect with other makers and crafters and creators? And that's kind of a hard question to answer for some reason for me. Or maybe it's more that I kind of want all of those things, but I either don't need them or I actually already have them. Even though I don't think of YouTube as a social media, even though I consider it a streaming platform, there is obviously community here, and there is some level of connection. In fact, way more connection for me than Instagram ever had. When I get comments on Instagram, if something is being seen by a lot of people, then it is really disconnected comments. It's people who have no idea who I am, what I do. They do not care. They saw this one thing and they had a thought about it. And that's fine. You're allowed to do that. But like, that's not connection. That's just them shouting into the wind on their side. And on my side, it's just a bunch of being shouted at. So that's not connection, and that's not community. And that's not to say that I don't have connections and community on Instagram. I absolutely do. There are people over there that I have been talking to for years. There are people that I have really in-depth conversations with on messages. There are people that leave really thoughtful comments. It's all there, but I already have that on YouTube to a much stronger degree. There is much more of a connection here, I think. There is much more of a community here than there is on Instagram. And so it's like, Do I need that somewhere else? Or do I take it from Instagram because I already had that? I had Instagram before I started YouTube, so I just kept using it. I originally hoped that Instagram would bring people over to my YouTube. I was hoping that for years. Analytics that I'm able to see on both are telling me that doesn't really happen much. A little bit, not very much. So it's not funneling people over to YouTube where I feel there's a stronger sense of community. And also, let's just be honest, I get paid here. I've never gotten paid in any way, shape, or form from Instagram. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've done a couple sponsorships of unrelated brands on Instagram. But even that, I think literally 2, because I don't want Instagram to make me money at all. I've never wanted that. I never wanted to associate income with a social media because that felt very risky and dangerous to mental health to me. It's too unstable. Like YouTube itself is unstable enough as a job, as a source of income. Social media just, it sounds like a nightmare to me to try to make money off of an actual social media platform. Whoo, I'm losing my train of thought here. Let me make a eucalyptus and refocus on what my topic was. I can go on so many tangents that are all related to the thing before, but each one moves you further and further off of the main topic until suddenly you're just in a completely different world. Ta-da! Okay, 1 eucalyptus, woo! So all of this is to say that with everything that's been going on recently, I have just been thinking more about what social media does for me. How does it benefit me? What is the purpose of social media for me personally? Because I don't think I'll be able to decide if I should go to another social media at all, or which one I should go to if I don't know what the purpose is for me and what I want out of a social media. And I think for a lot of YouTubers, there's kind of an assumption that you need to be on all the different platforms. You need to be advertising yourself, basically, like spreading your reach. And quite honestly, that might be benefiting a lot of people. They might actually see results from that, but I always have to balance results with effects. I think you can't just go like, well, this might have a lot of positive results, so let's ignore the negative effects. You have to really take both of those things into consideration. And considering I have such a low social battery, there are negative effects to being on social media. Also, it's just a lot of work if you're trying to do it in a promotional way. It's a lot of stuff to handle. So I really have not had that experience of social media benefiting my job, which is this, YouTube. So that's not necessarily a reason or a benefit or a thing I'm looking for. It's fun for me to share some shorter or more quickly and easily digestible version of what I've made. Reels were really difficult for me at first. They honestly, I figured out how to make reels, or they became easier for me to make when I started making clothing, because it was very simple to be like, here's the clothing in motion. Like, yeah, a photo of a finished outfit is great, but it's also fun to see the skirt spin, especially with how many spinny skirts I make. So it made sense to me to start doing reels when I started doing clothing. And it was a quick way, instead of watching my, 30-minute video, for somebody to be like, oh, let's see what she did this week, and then decide if they want to come over and watch the long video or something like that, which quite frankly is, again, not what's happening. But I don't know, for some reason, whether it's photos or short form video, I do enjoy sharing that form of my final products. And quite frankly, in the last 6 months or so, I've stopped making it a priority. Like I used to really push to make sure that for every long form video on YouTube, I also had at least one reel for Instagram. And I finally started being like, why? What's the point of that? Why are you trying to force something if it's not working? Because the clothing ones are really easy, but now I'm starting to do a lot of different projects, and not all of them translate really well to a short form reel. I don't always have an idea for it. So I finally started being like, just don't do it. If you don't have an idea to turn this into a short form thing, if you don't have the footage, then just don't make one. And that was a relief. But like, I can't quite figure out, I think it's something I'll have to think about a little bit more, how much that matters to me, the short form sharing, whether it's a video or a photo. I don't know. I can't decide if it matters to me. And I could just go back to sharing shorts on YouTube. I said I didn't want to, and I stand by that. I still don't really want to, not consistently, because I don't think it brings in the same audience, and it's not the audience that I'm looking to build. There are lots of people who just do shorts on YouTube and who have a great audience of people who like to watch shorts, and that's awesome. I'm not really looking for an audience of people who like to watch shorts. I'm looking for an audience of people who want to listen to me ramble for 30 minutes or more. Another benefit of social media is being social. Again, like I said, there are people that I have conversations with on there. There's people that, our main connection is on Instagram and not on YouTube. There's also, and this is honestly, I think, even a little more important for me, a whole bunch of people that I follow, a whole bunch of artists and creators on Instagram who are either not on YouTube, or maybe they only do shorts on YouTube, which I really don't watch over here. So there's so many incredible makers and creators and artists and artisans and crafters who I follow on Instagram, and seeing their stuff is inspiring and it connects me to them. There are people who I've been connected with for like a decade now. Is that correct math? That doesn't seem like correct math. For like 7 years now, because we started following each other way back in the day when I first started doing embroidery, and they're also embroidery artists, and like we have that connection, and it's really cool. So I think that is something that I would be sad to lose, but also if a bunch of people are leaving Instagram, I may not have a choice over losing that. Like, they might just be gone and the community might kind of implode on itself. So that's not something I really have control over. And that is something I'd like to build more on the YouTube side. I think over here, the community is more between me and my viewers rather than between me and other makers. YouTubers are actually pretty isolated. It can be a very isolating job, and it can be very hard to get to know other YouTubers. I think especially when you're in America, there's so many Americans who are on YouTube, and it's such a big country. So I know that there's like groups for YouTubers to get together in smaller countries, like in England is just one that I know specifically. There's like a women on YouTube kind of official group there, but it's a smaller area. There's going to be a smaller overall number of people, and also more likelihood that people can all get together in person in one location. So anyway, I would really love to have that sense of community between other makers, and specifically for me, between other makers of content, because there is just such a specificity to being a long-form content creator. It is a job. It's a beast of its own. There are issues you run into, and I'm really lucky that I have been able to connect with a few other YouTubers, and we have a great little group there, and we really support each other. But it's something that I would love to see expand even more, and I don't know that social media is an answer to that. So again, it begs the question, if you lose the community that you have on social media, is that really that bad? Can you replace that with a community that's maybe even better? And here's the really just practical, straightforward thing that I think would be the hardest thing to lose if I left Instagram: direct messaging. It's like the one thing YouTube does not have is a way to direct message, and I completely understand that. YouTube has such a range of people on here. You have full-on professional media companies, and you have someone sitting in front of their webcam. Like, it is a vast range on this platform right now, and giving anyone the ability to direct message YouTubers would be problematic. It would just be so many messages that you wouldn't be able to keep track of them, you wouldn't be able to check them, and they would be rendered useless pretty fast. So like, I understand that, but at the same time, a lot of times when I want to try to connect with another YouTuber, or even just in practical circumstances, like when I did the embroidery auction, and I said like, hey, if you saw a piece that I didn't put up for auction, direct message me on Instagram so I can work out with you and get it shipped to you and everything. There's a lot of practical use to having the ability to direct message somebody. And if we don't have that via Instagram anymore, I'm like, what's the other option? Emailing? Because emails for me, I don't mean this to be rude at all if you're a person who has ever emailed me for a random reason, but emails for me are very business. So when I get an email that is just unrelated to business, it tends to stress me out a little bit. I don't quite know what to do with it. I don't know how to respond to it, because an email is not the same as a comment. It's not the same as a direct message. It's way more personal and it's very professional in my mind. So yeah, I don't know. If you lose direct messaging, and then I had to actually like email people for everything, you also still have to have a way to communicate that email. I can't ask people to tell me what their email is in a comment. I'm not going to make you share your email publicly. So I think that's like the thing that's sticking in my head as like the practical reason to have some form of social media and not just YouTube, is it's like when I need to directly contact somebody in private, how do you do that if all you have is YouTube? I don't know, y'all. Ow, these are sharp. Why do I have so many more 9s? Okay, when they give me extra pieces, I just assume I've done something wrong. Why do I have another leaf? Where was it supposed to go? All right, we got eucalyptus. Woo! Yay! So cute! How about the red camellias? This is fun. These are cute. I think if you enjoy putting together like Lego sets, you'd enjoy something like this too. B3 to C9. I'm gonna pop these out one at a time this time, because this is a lot of pieces. Ah! Gay? Okay, we've made like a bud. Also, there is one more element of Instagram that I do enjoy. I don't know how much I need it. Ooh, there's 2 more elements. Ooh, God, see, you get more from social media than you think. It just becomes a question of, is this actually necessary? Instagram has stories, which I do enjoy. I enjoy both sharing them and I enjoy seeing other people's. Actually, stories is probably where I spend the most time on Instagram right now, because it's specifically the people that I follow, which is always nice. I followed them for a reason. I'd like to see what they're doing. And then I like that it's just sort of life updates, project updates, what's going on with you kind of stuff. And I like being able to share that as well, you know, especially because I make all of my videos for YouTube in advance. It's nice every once in a while to be able to share a little bit of the project I'm working on in the moment. There are times that I'm like, oh God, I just want like someone to see this now, or I want somebody's opinion on it now. And so sharing that on stories, doing polls or asking questions is really nice. And it's just sort of that thing that I think, especially when you live alone or you spend a lot of time alone, not that I live alone, I do live with someone, but Matt is gone a lot. But I think you have that thing where sometimes you're just like, oh my God, the puppy is so cute. I just want somebody else to see that. And so you post it on stories. And there's not really a version of that on YouTube. And I'm not sure that I would want there to be a version of that on YouTube. I do like that it's like YouTube is a little more of the professional side, if you can call all my random chaos professional. And then stories is like, well, if you want to see the thing I made for dinner, you have the option to go follow on Instagram and look at that, but you don't have to. It's not automatically in the package of you watching my YouTube videos, you know? Like, I kind of enjoy that there's that separation there. Other thing I enjoy from Instagram, which is probably the trickiest thing about it all, is finding new people on there. This kind of is the same as like that community of makers and creators who don't do YouTube, which I would never expect. I don't expect or want really every maker and creator out there to start putting out long form videos. This takes a lot of time. It takes learning how to edit, which is just a whole beast in its own. Like, it's a commitment to do long form content creation, and that is not for everyone, and that's perfectly fine. But I still want to be able to see other people's artwork and creations, what they've made. And that's where other social medias come in, especially Instagram. It's getting to see the photos and the short form content of people's costumes and embroideries and macrames and miniatures. Like, I love seeing all of that. And this has kind of been the only part of consuming reels that I've enjoyed, and I only kind of discovered it recently. The algorithm is, of course, absolutely bonkers over there, but every once in a while, I can get on reels and it will give me like 30 minutes straight of nothing but creators. People sharing their makes, sharing their process, sharing their inspiration, sharing their artistic expression in some way. And those moments when that happens, there's a helicopter going over, give me a second. Those moments when that happens are so joyful. I get so much inspiration from them. I always end up adding more things to my list, but it is so unpredictable if that's gonna happen. And then sometimes you just get this random mass of other stuff that I absolutely do not want to be seeing. And it's like, how much do I want to get on reels if I have no idea what I'm about to see and what emotional response it's going to elicit from me? And the answer to that question is not very much. I don't really want to get on reels when that's the option. So I haven't been. I think I've gotten on reels one time in the last 2 weeks. And it's been delightful to not be doom scrolling. It has been so nice. And I think it was only a few days ago now that for the first time I was like, but I kind of really miss seeing people's artwork and seeing their creations. It dawned on me that I was like, how am I gonna find new people now? I have found so many new artists, potters, doodlers. Like, I tried doodling and I've fallen in love with that because I found artists that inspired that on Instagram. I find artwork that I want to purchase by seeing it on Instagram. And it was like, oh, well, if I'm avoiding getting on reels because I don't know what I'm gonna see, then I'm gonna lose all of that. I'm gonna lose those great few times that it gave me this glorious collection of creativity. And that's kind of sad, and I don't really know how to replace that. So I don't know. Right now I am still, oh God, there's a trash can there. Ow, there's a table there. I don't know. This is a lot of me just giving you my thoughts right now. I have no solutions. I don't really know where I'm going with it. Right now, I am still posting on Instagram. I will continue posting reels and photos of my finished projects. I'll continue sharing random life things on stories, but I am trying to drastically limit the amount of time that I consume on Instagram as opposed to sharing on Instagram. It doesn't take that long to share. It's like 5 seconds I've shared something, and then, an hour that I'm sitting there doom scrolling for no reason. But yeah, right now I don't know of another platform to join that will be the replacement for all of the things that I do enjoy or do want or do need from Instagram. I don't know of another platform that replaces that. My only solution right now is to just lessen my time on Instagram as a whole and wait and watch and see what's gonna happen and see if something new will come along. I have heard rumors that whoever does Blue Sky is going to do a more Instagram style app. Who knows? Where are you going? You're supposed to go in one. That doesn't seem right. Did I do something wrong? Hello? Hey. Oh, nope, don't come out yet. We're not ready for you. All of this has made me think a lot more recently about community and connection, the community of makers, crafters, artists, artisans, whatever you want to call them, community of creative people. How do we connect better? Can we connect better? And it's something I've been thinking about for a while, quite frankly. You know, there's limited opportunities. What am I trying to say? Oh, that's it. First flower. Woohoo! I think when you are in nope. Over the last several years that I've been on YouTube, especially the last year, I've just been observing the various niches around me in what you could call overall the maker space, and observing how they connect with their audience, how they connect with each other, and where the strongest senses of community lie. And what's interesting, but also pretty blatant and obvious, is cosplay has really become this very connected community in the last several years, for a while now. And then I've kind of observed from a distance the sort of historical sewing community having a lot of connection. And I just think that like a lot of the strongest communities, I'm gonna say that word so many times it's gonna start sounding really dumb. The strongest ones that I observe tend to be groups of people who are able to get together in person in some way, shape, or form. There is something to be said for cons, y'all. There's a massive benefit there because you can have a really strong connection with somebody who you've never met in person. There's plenty of people who I have only ever talked to online that I would consider very good friends. I think I can have a good connection with my audience despite it being completely online. But like, let's be real, there's a benefit to getting to meet somebody face to face. I can admit that even with how introverted I am and how much I sometimes don't want to meet anyone face to face. But I think I'm getting to an age where, like I said before, I'm starting to recover from the first 25 years and I'm starting to be more okay with the concept or more excited for the concept of actually meeting people and socializing with people and being around people. And granted, I am now aware that that's within little pockets and there has to be recovery time afterward and that's all okay. You know, I'm better aware of myself now and I'm aware that that's not like, I'm ready to be social. Let's hit the road and meet 500 people and be social for a month straight. No. And I know that there's really a variety of cons or festivals, group meetings of various kinds for different things. I know that there's sewing ones and there's knitting meetups, I assume. I shouldn't say I know, I assume. I know a little bit, I assume a lot. I assume there are lots of various styles of meetups, but I've really started to long, quite frankly, that seems like a very powerful word, that I long for something, but I am starting to long for this opportunity to meet up with people, to meet up with my peers, my like co-workers who are all over the country and the world and who I've never met in person and a lot of who I've never even talked to, like other people who make long form YouTube content about a craft or an art. I feel like those are my coworkers, and yet I have almost no interaction with 99.9% of them. And it would be amazing to have opportunities for YouTubers to meet each other. It would be amazing to have opportunities for new YouTubers or people who want to be YouTubers to get to meet people who are already doing this job or have been doing it longer than them, and to be able to get advice and just straight up learning experience, classes, connections, all of that. Like that would be so beneficial to the overall makerspace. But it would also be freaking awesome to have an opportunity to meet viewers. And I don't know when I would ever have that. I would have to set something up myself, and that feels very overwhelming to be like the only person. So far, I haven't ever agreed to or planned any form of meetup because it is mentally taxing for me to just think about it. But in a larger setting where there's a lot of people, there's multiple YouTubers and fans, viewers, whatever, you guys can go meet a lot of the people that you watch online. You can take classes from them. I am just describing a con, I know. But like this opportunity for makers in the maker space, for people who don't cosplay, because this is what I see is just there's so many cosplay cons and that's amazing for them and I'm so happy that they've built that community. But if you are a YouTuber who does not cosplay or you don't do historical sewing because they have a lot of like balls and stuff, they have events, there's way fewer or perhaps no opportunities for you to meet your coworkers, your peers, and your viewers. Like, where are you gonna go to do that? And I would just so love for something like this to exist. There's actually, hold on, let me make a few things. We have another bud. This one moves. Ooh. So there's this thing called Open Sauce. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. It's in its 3rd year this year. And when I first saw the thing for this last year, I saw a convention for makers and I got so excited. I was like, what? It exists. It's the thing. Somebody's done it. It's a convention for makers. Well, it looks like a really cool event. I'm honestly considering going this year just to enjoy it, to see it. It's for kind of a different maker space. It's for like the scientific engineering robotics maker space. They do have like some cosplayers who go there, like specifically people who do, I think, more engineered cosplays. I don't really know. But basically, like, I only recognized a few of the names on the list as people that I watch. I recognized a lot more of the names on the list as people that Matt watches, and I sometimes watch with him because he likes the whole science side of things. So yeah, I was very excited for a moment, and then I was like, nuts. Not the right kind of makers. Again, awesome event for them, cool event, but I'm like, can I have that now, but for makers as in, I hate that the word crafter and crafts has such a negative connotation. Not that it's a negative connotation, but it, like, we all know the connotation of crafts, right? It's like, oh, you're a kid doing arts and crafts at school, which I find ironic because then if you drop the S and you just say craft, if it's like, I'm working on my craft, then you're like, oh, that's like a skilled thing. That's like your craft. That's something that you've learned. But as soon as you say crafts, plural, it's like Elmer's glue and tempera paint. And I hate that. That's so annoying because I'm like, I do multiple crafts and some of them are kind of Elmer's glue and tempera paint and some of them are way more advanced than that. They are craft. And it frustrates me when words have become a certain thing that they really shouldn't be, and then it's like, well, I need to use that word, but I don't want people to think it's the thing that it really isn't. Anyway, all that to say, I would love for there to be this style of conference, but for makers in the more arts and crafts area, and not so niched down. I think the niche for me, and what's really cool about Open Sauce, is that it's content creators, it's YouTubers, because I know there's things like Sew Expo. One, it's niched down to sewing, and two, it's about sewing. It's not about sewing content. It's not specifically for content creators to meet each other and to meet their viewers and to teach classes and stuff for that purpose. It's something that exists outside the world of content. My piece. And could potentially benefit from content or benefit content creators, but it's not specifically for that, you know? Am I wildly over-explaining every concept in my head? So that's why Open Sauce stood out to me as like, oh, that's like a thing for YouTubers in this maker space. And it's like, can I have that, but for content creators in the craftier maker space? I would love to see content creators, YouTubers, and their viewers from knitting, spinning, weaving, embroidering, crocheting, sewing, all of these fiber arts and textile arts, I'd love to see them all in the same place. But then quite frankly, for me, I'm even like, throw in everyone else. The potters and the miniature makers and the stained glass makers and the polymer clay people and the resin makers, even like illustrators and painters. I don't know, I'm just like, the more the merrier. I love seeing people's artwork. I love seeing people do their craft. I love learning new things. And to me, it would just be incredible to have this giant event where you can see all of these people, and it encourages these people to interact with each other, not just the YouTubers, the content creators themselves, which would be massively beneficial. Like, I don't just want to get to know other sewists. Sewing is not the only thing that I do, and also we're all YouTubers. We are all making long form content. We have a connection outside of the specific niche that we most commonly do in our videos, you know? But I would also think that it would be really beneficial for viewers, because you would have an opportunity to see people in person, to go to classes or workshops or panels or discussions, and perhaps open up your interests to more types of craft, more types of content, more makers and creators, and you'd have it all in this one space. Whereas I think it can be really difficult or expensive or time consuming or socially stressing to be like, I'm gonna go to a bunch of different classes to learn something new. You would have one overall conference where you could be like, well, now's finally a time for me to go try that thing that I've been wanting to try, and that other thing, and that thing over there. I can go take workshops in all of that, all at this one conference. I can find some new content creators who I connect with, and when I go home, I'll be able to start watching their content and enjoying them as a human being. Can you tell I'm lightly passionate about this? Yeah, I don't know. I like planning things. I like putting things together. It usually all ends up living in my head. And that's what's kind of been happening lately, is I've just been dreaming up this really cool event that would serve to connect the maker community in such incredible ways. And I just think it would be so cool and so worthwhile. And I'm like, somebody else do that, because that sounds like a lot of work and a lot of know-how that's like beyond my level. I don't know, y'all. This is a conversation. It's a conversation because I really want to hear your opinions on this. As viewers, if there are any other YouTubers watching right now, I'd love to hear your opinions, but I really want to hear the opinions of people who watch YouTube. 1, do you do more than one craft? Do you have more than one thing that you do in the world of making stuff? And if so, is there like a main thing for you, and then these are like things you dabble in? Or do you just do a bunch of stuff? That's the first thing I would love to know. 2, do you watch content creators in different making niches? And you don't have to give me a list or anything. I'm just interested. Do you like, your thing is sewing, you watch sewing content creators, and that's it? Or do you watch a bunch of things in different niches? Do you watch people who do stuff that you don't even do? Honestly, I will tell you guys, it's a comment I love getting, and I don't think the people who leave this comment realize it, but every once in a while, somebody will leave a comment and just be like, oh, I've been enjoying your videos, I've started watching your videos, I like your videos, okay, whatever, thank you, compliment, lovely, adore it. But they'll like end it up with being like, and I don't even sew. And I love that comment, because that means so much to me, that you can have no specific interest in the thing that I'm doing and you still enjoy my videos. Like, ugh. You guys don't realize how big of a compliment that is to me and how good that makes me feel. Anyway, though, I'm interested. Do you watch content creators in more than one niche? And maybe even like, what connects you, if you do, what connects you to a content creator who makes stuff that you don't? For example, I'll shout her out here because it's a great example. I love watching Breathing Yarn. She's one of my like everything that comes up, I watch her new videos. She mostly does knitting. Y'all, I've tried knitting once. I've messed it up and I haven't gone back to it. It did not really connect with me. It's not currently my thing. Maybe it will be in the future, but it's not my niche. It's not my thing. I still love her videos. I so enjoy watching her stuff. I enjoy the way that she communicates. I enjoy the vibe. So that's my example. And I'm interested to know, is that a thing for you? Do you really stay within your niche when it comes to content, or do you branch out? What are your reasons for that, etc.? Third thing I'd love to know from you, I need a drink first. I also really need to finish building this flower. Now I've forgotten what the third thing I wanted to know was. Oh yeah, what do you think about a conference of the style that I have described? Imagine you just heard about it. You saw an ad or a friend was like, oh hey, I heard about this thing. What would your reaction be? Would you be like, oh, that's too many things all at once? That sounds too overwhelming, or that's not specific enough to what I do? Would it be off-putting for it to include a large number of niches and a large number of people, different areas? Or would that be more of an appeal for you? This makes it sound like I am thinking about planning this myself. Y'all, I don't even know where I would start. But is that something that you would enjoy? Is that something that you would find it worthwhile to travel for? Because let's be honest, that's the thing with cons, is they can only be in this one location and everybody else has to travel for them. Again, why is our country so massive? But is that something that like would be a standout thing enough for you to travel for? Would there be that kind of appeal in getting to go to an event like that? And if so, what would be the appeal? Would it be getting to meet various creators that you watch? Would the appeal be getting to take classes or workshops in several different crafts and styles? Would the appeal be connecting with other fans, with other viewers, just with the community as a whole, not necessarily the content creators, but the other people who also are in your area of passion and interest? What would be the appeal there if it's something that sounds appealing to you? That was a lot of stuff. Please feel free to write me novels in the comments. Every once in a while, somebody will write a novel in the comments and then apologize for it. Please don't ever feel like you have to apologize for that. Write your comments as long as you freaking want. 100,000 words, I'm gonna say, is the limit. That's a joke because I'm pretty sure YouTube has some sort of limit on how long your content can be, your comment can be, and I'm pretty sure it's shorter than 100,000 words. But seriously, like, never apologize for talking too much in my comments, please. As most of you know, that is something that gets commented, not just on my videos, but on a lot of women on YouTube specifically, that we talk too much. And I very specifically do not ever want to apologize for that. I enjoy talking, I enjoy sharing, I enjoy making my videos like this. Some people aren't gonna like them, some people will, and that's fine. So I just wanna say, same goes for you. Please don't apologize for talking and for sharing. Make your comments as long as you want them. And in this case, I hope you make them freaking ginormous. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me all the things. Tell me what you think about this, because it's been heavily on my mind. I don't even remember where we started. Where did we start? With Instagram? With social media? Hey, tell me about that too. What are your thoughts on social media right now? Are you getting on? Are you getting off? Are you switching platforms? Are you going somewhere else? Do you have an opinion on where I should go? Do you find it helpful in some way or very useful that I have an Instagram still? Tell me all the things. Turn this into a conversation. Otherwise, I'm just talking into the wind. And I am gonna finish this flower so we can wrap this up. Flower number 2. Gorgeous. Ta-da! Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Later, taters. Alrighty. Oh, that's gonna bother me. Is everything gonna bother me today? Ow. Ow. God. Is this a bad idea? Keep the product away from the source of ignition. Okay. Trash can. Every time. He'll think that I'm a nun and I am not a nun. He'll think that I am chaste and I'm not that chaste. I think my mic might be dead. Is my mic dead? Whew, that would kind of suck if it was. Ugh, trash can. Literally every time.